This video is going to cover customizable invoice and payment listings. Sometimes you may have to do a report that lists all the invoices and payments in a certain criteria, and you want to control what data is actually presented. That's what the customizable reports are for. There are other videos that cover the generic format of the customizable reports, as well as for specifically for quotes and orders. To do the customizable invoice listing, you'll go to Invoices, click Reports, Customizable Invoice Listing. All the customizable reports have the same 5 buttons. The Selection button pulls up a dialog that is just like the Find button in Invoices. This is where you can search for certain invoices to show up on the report. On the Basic tab, you have generic fields that you can search for, as well as if you want to go by invoice date, payment received, or invoice entry. In any of these dates, you can choose either a relative date, a specific year, month, or pick a specific day to do the report on. You can choose any invoice status. You can choose invoices that have been disputed. You can go by commissioned invoices, sell, buy, or any combination thereof. You can pick invoices that have payments or have no payments, and if it's a deposit invoice. In addition, you can pull invoices based on the order status of the orders they're tied to. You can add any order status as well as multiple ones, and order types. These order types and order statuses are controlled by the end user, so you might have different selections on those screens. You can use the same date dialog to pick PO entry date and sort for invoices based on the PO entry date. On the internal tab, this is where you choose your employees or entities within your company to report by. For example, your own CSRs, quoters, the sales accounts, if you have any work groups, or if you have any resale companies. On the parties tabs, these are the external entities that are on the invoices. Manufacturers, parent manufacturers, which keep in mind that parent manufacturers, if you have merged brands set, it will pull from the manufacturer. Customers, parent customers is the same way as parent manufacturer. And then specifiers. Finally, you have search keys. These are entered into your database by the end user, so your listing will have different entries here. Once you click OK, based on what you have selected, it'll summarize here and show you about how many records are found with that query. You can group by a variety of fields, and you can group by more than one field. You can drag and drop them, or you can just click the Add button. If you group by multiple levels, it's going to group in order that's listed. So in this case, it's going to go invoice disputed. It'll list all the disputed invoices first. Underneath that, it'll list all the manufacturers. Underneath each manufacturer, it'll list the parent customer in this case. Then it will go back to the not disputed, list all the manufacturers, and under each list all the parents. Of course, this is an unrealistic example. You would select whatever that you need to on here. You notice that there was adjust values. I'll show you customers and manufacturers. Customers, you can't adjust value on customers because there is only one customer, so there's no need to adjust. However, an invoice might have multiple manufacturers associated with that order. In that case, you can check adjust values to list the totals under each manufacturer that apply only to that specific manufacturer. For example, manufacturer A's totals, then manufacturer B's totals. If you had this unchecked, then manufacturer's A total would include the total value on the transaction. Then manufacturer B would have that same total value again. You also have the option to page break. Sort is just that. You can sort on certain fields. These are the basic fields you can sort on based on the default settings. However, if you add a grouping or a layout field, it could increase or decrease depending on what you adjust, what's available to sort. Obviously, you can only sort on fields that are on the report. Filter allows you to filter the selection you pulled up. For example, if you you group on manufacturer, then you want to filter by, I'm just going to pick one, we'll say Delta Lighting. What this does is it's going to grab all the criteria, all the invoices that meet this criteria, and then filter the values to only show you those associated with Delta. Well, what's the difference if you put Delta up here? If I put Delta up here, it's going to show you all transactions that have Delta in it. But if there's more than one manufacturer, the report will list both manufacturers. It's pulling transactions with Delta, but listing all data on that. So if you need to filter it down to just the Delta data, you would want to filter. Finally, under layout, you have a variety of fields that can be chosen. You can move it into columns, which is like the spreadsheet where you have a column A, B, C, and D. And this will put the data underneath those columns, tabulated appropriately. Or you can display data in their own row. For example, if you need to list a project name that normally would not fit in a column of a specific width, it would allow it to continue on. And you can have row breaks to push data to new rows. The last feature is the show totals only, and this will just print the totals as opposed to the individual transactions. Next, we'll go over the customizable payment listing, which is very similar. You go to Payments, and then click Customizable Payment Listing, and you have the same 5 buttons. Under Selection, it's a lot fewer options than it is with quotes, orders, and invoices. You can pull up payments based on the invoice number, the check number, the date of the invoice, or the date of the payment. And you can pull up by specific manufacturers or customers, or any combination thereof. Again, it gives you an approximate number of records that meet the search criteria that you entered. You can group based on these values. It's a little bit smaller list than it is for the other type of transactions, as well as sort on specific values. Again, depending on what you add to layout, you might get more or less features to sort by, because you can only sort by fields that are on the report. Filter works the same way as it does on the invoices. In this case, I'm not grouping by anything, so there's nothing for me to filter by. And then finally, layout. You have a smaller list of fields, but any of these fields you can add to either columns or rows. You still have the same option to show totals only. Again, this just briefly covers the invoice and payment customizable listing. There are other videos that covers quotes, orders, as well as a generic overview of all the functions on these customizable reports.